In a quiet village, two women met for the first time at the local market. One, Maria, a humble farmer, was known for her strength and warmth, while the other, Natalie, was a city woman who had recently moved to the village with her son. Their paths crossed when Natalie asked Maria for help with carrying her baskets of fruit, and Maria, always willing to lend a hand, agreed. They exchanged smiles. Though neither spoke of the deeper reason their hearts were connected, both had lost children in different circumstances. Though their lives had been so different, there was an unspoken understanding between them. Maria's eyes, filled with sorrow, met Natalie's, and for a moment, both women were silent. They did not know each other well, but the pain in their hearts connected them. Natalie, noticing the heavy weight in Maria's gaze, instinctively felt the same grief within her. Maria, sensing Natalie's vulnerability, found comfort in her presence, even without words. Maria and Natalie began to see each other more often, at first by chance and later by choice. Natalie would visit Maria's farm to buy fresh vegetables, and they would sit together on the porch, sharing stories. Maria spoke of her daughter, Adeline, who had passed away from a sudden illness when she was just 8. Natalie, too, had a story of heartbreak. Her son, August, had been taken from her in a tragic accident while they were on vacation. The grief from both mothers ran deep, yet neither spoke of it directly, afraid to open old wounds. Their bond grew with each passing day, as they shared the silence of their sorrow and the comfort of each other's presence. They did not need to say everything aloud. It was in the way their eyes met, in the way their hands lingered on each other's shoulders, that they communicated the pain they both carried. They were mothers, bound by the same invisible thread of loss. The village's annual festival brought the whole community together. Maria and Natalie attended, walking side by side through the bustling streets. Natalie had never been fond of such events, but Maria had insisted she come, believing the joy of the festival might bring a bit of light into their lives. As they wandered through the colorful stalls, Maria pointed out the decorations, the children's laughter, and the vibrant energy all around them. Natalie smiled faintly, still feeling the weight of her grief. As they approached the stage where the village children were performing, Natalie's eyes widened as she spotted a young girl, no older than Adeline had been, dancing joyfully. A pang of longing hit her heart, and for the first time, she turned to Maria, her voice barely a whisper. "She reminds me of August," Natalie said, her throat tight. Maria looked at the girl, her face softening with empathy. She nodded quietly, understanding the pain of seeing someone else's child fill the space of the one lost. Later that evening, after the festival's festivities had died down, the two women sat by a crackling fire in Maria's backyard. Natalie, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, finally spoke of the deep emptiness that had consumed her since August's death. Maria listened patiently, offering no advice, only her presence. In the soft glow of the fire, Natalie felt the weight of her sorrow shift slightly, as if sharing it had lightened her burden, even just for a moment. Maria, in turn, shared a piece of her heart. "The pain never truly leaves, but it becomes part of you," she said softly. "We carry them with us in everything we do, even when they're not here." Natalie's eyes filled with tears, and she placed her hand over Maria's in gratitude. The bond between them grew stronger, built not on words, but on the shared understanding of loss, the kind only another mother could know. As the weeks passed, their friendship deepened. Natalie began to take more frequent visits to Maria's farm, and the two mothers grew to rely on one another. Something was healing about their quiet companionship, something soothing in knowing that they could be with someone who understood their deepest grief without needing to explain it. Natalie found herself learning to appreciate the simplicity of Maria's life, how she worked the land, how she cared for her animals, how she found peace in the small, ordinary moments of life. One afternoon, as Natalie helped Maria gather vegetables, a child's laughter echoed across the field. Both women paused and turned toward the sound. A group of village children were playing near the fence. The sight of the children, carefree and happy, stirred something in both women. Maria looked at Natalie and smiled, her heart a little lighter, as she realized the truth they had both been avoiding. This new connection between them, though born of sorrow, was also one of healing. One day, Natalie received a letter from the city. It was an invitation to an event that she had been eagerly waiting for years, a charity gala where she was to be recognized for her work in education. As the date drew near, Natalie felt a knot in her stomach. She had not been able to fully return to her old life, not since August's death. She didn't want to leave Maria, the one person who had helped her find peace, even in the smallest way. Yet, she also felt the pull of her old aspirations, of a life that felt so far away from the pain she had been living with. When Natalie confided in Maria, the older woman's face was kind but resolute. "You must go," Maria said, her voice soft but firm. "The past doesn't have to define you. You can carry August with you, but you also deserve to live." Natalie was taken aback by the strength in Maria's words. She had expected Maria to tell her to stay, to avoid the world outside. Instead, Maria reminded Natalie that healing came from living, not hiding. After a long night of contemplation, Natalie made her decision. She would attend the gala, but she would also carry August's memory with her, in every step she took. Maria had given her the courage to embrace life again, to honor both her son's memory and her own need to move forward. The morning of the event, Natalie stood before her mirror, adjusting her dress. She could still feel the heaviness in her heart, but there was a new sense of purpose in her steps. Maria visited her that morning to wish her well. The two mothers shared a moment of quiet understanding before Natalie left for the city. Neither needed to say much, their connection was enough. At that moment, Natalie knew that though their paths were different, their bond remained unbreakable, a testament to the strength that mothers carry in their hearts. Months passed before Natalie returned to the village. She had attended the gala, and it had been everything she hoped for and more. She had stood on stage, accepted her award, and spoken about the importance of education, all while carrying August's memory with her. It was a bittersweet victory, but one she knew he would have been proud of. Upon her return to the village, Natalie was greeted warmly by Maria, who had kept up with her progress through letters. As Natalie walked through the village streets, she felt a sense of peace that had eluded her for so long. She no longer felt the sharp sting of grief that had once defined her. Instead, she felt a quiet acceptance, an understanding that life could go on, and that love could still flourish, even in the face of loss. Maria welcomed her back with open arms, and the two women embraced, knowing that their bond had been forged through shared pain but was now strengthened by their mutual resilience. One winter evening, Natalie received an unexpected visit from Maria. She arrived at Natalie's doorstep, holding a small bundle wrapped in cloth. Natalie opened the door, surprised to see her friend standing there in the cold. "Maria, what's going on?" Natalie asked, concern in her voice. Maria smiled gently, her eyes filled with warmth. "I thought you might like to meet someone," she said softly. Inside the cloth bundle was a tiny kitten, its fur soft and white with a hint of grey. "Her name is Adeline," Maria said, her voice quiet but filled with love. Natalie's heart fluttered as she reached down to stroke the kitten's soft fur. At that moment, it felt as though Maria had given her a gift, a symbol of hope and new beginnings. The kitten, named after Maria's daughter, was a reminder that life, even after great loss, could still hold moments of tenderness and joy. As the seasons changed, the bond between Natalie and Maria continued to grow. They shared countless hours together, tending to the farm, talking about their lives, and, in the quiet moments, reflecting on their children. Natalie had begun to volunteer in the village school, helping teach the younger children. Every time she looked at them, she was reminded of August, but she no longer felt the crushing sadness she once had. Instead, she felt a deep sense of gratitude for the time she had with him, and for the lessons his life had taught her. One afternoon, as Natalie sat on the porch with Maria, watching the sun set behind the hills, Maria spoke softly. "We may never understand why things happen the way they do," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "But we can choose how we live with the truth of it. We can choose to honor their memory by living fully, even in their absence." Natalie nodded, her heart full. In that moment, both mothers knew that their bond, built on grief, had transformed into something more beautiful, a shared strength that would carry them through whatever came next. Years passed, and the two mothers continued to support each other through life's challenges. Natalie's life had blossomed in ways she had never imagined, and Maria's farm had flourished. The bond between them remained as strong as ever, an unspoken understanding that transcended words. Their children's memories lived on in the work they did, in the lives they touched, and in the quiet moments of reflection they shared. One day, as they walked together through the village, Natalie turned to Maria with a smile. "Do you think our children would be proud of us?" she asked, her voice soft. Maria looked at her, her eyes filled with wisdom. "I think they already are," she said simply. "We carry them with us, in everything we do." And with that, the two women continued on their path, hand in hand, knowing that their shared truth would always guide them. As spring arrived, the village was alive with new life. Flowers bloomed, and the air was thick with the scent of fresh growth. Natalie had decided to start a new project in the village, an outreach program for grieving mothers. It was something she had been contemplating for a long time, and now, with Maria's encouragement, she was ready to take the leap. Maria, of course, was by her side every step of the way. The outreach program began as a small gathering, but it quickly grew as other mothers in the village came to share their stories. Natalie found herself helping others navigate their grief, just as Maria had once helped her. The truth of the unspoken bond between them, that grief could be shared and healed through connection, became the foundation of the program. Together, Natalie and Maria had created something lasting, a place where others could find solace and strength, just as they had found it in each other. As time passed, Maria's health began to decline. Natalie was by her side, just as Maria had always been for her. The two women had grown older, their once vibrant energy now softened by age. But their bond remained as strong as ever, a testament to the years of love, loss, and healing they had shared. One evening, as Natalie sat by Maria's bedside, the older woman reached out, her hand trembling slightly. "I have something for you," Maria whispered. Natalie looked at her, her heart heavy. Maria handed her a small, worn notebook. "It's my journal," she said softly. "I want you to have it." Natalie opened the journal and began to read the words written there, stories of her daughter Adeline, of the farm, and of the years they had spent together. As she read, Natalie felt a deep sense of gratitude for the gift Maria had given her, the gift of memories, of shared love, and of a bond that would never break. After Maria passed away, Natalie continued her work in the village, carrying on the outreach program they had started together. The lessons Maria had taught her about love, loss, and resilience became the foundation of her life's work. Natalie never stopped missing her friend, but she knew that Maria's spirit lived on in the lives they had touched, in the mothers who had found comfort through their shared stories. Natalie often returned to Maria's farm, now managed by the village, where she would sit on the porch, just as they had done so many times before. In those quiet moments, she felt Maria's presence beside her, and she knew that their bond would never be broken. The truth they had shared, the one of grief and healing, had become a legacy, a lesson passed on to all who knew them. One evening, as Natalie walked through the village, she stopped by the graves of both her son and Maria. She stood there in silence, remembering the journey they had shared. At that moment, she realized that the one truth they had always known: loss was a part of life, but love was stronger, and was what had truly carried them. They had found a way to live with their grief, to honor the memories of their children, and to help others heal. With a quiet smile, Natalie whispered into the wind, "Thank you, Maria. You were right. We carry them with us, in everything we do." And with that, she walked away, knowing that their unspoken bond would live on forever, a guiding light in her heart. Moral of the story: true healing comes not from avoiding pain, but from sharing it with others, finding strength in the bonds we form through shared grief, and honoring those we've lost by living fully.